Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where teachers can save 5% every day. Download the Safeway app and verify your teacher status for exclusive offers and discounts. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
One of the most popular shows on TV is back, and with a new season in Denver starting today. Netflix's Love is Blind is opening up the pods and putting 32 local singles into this social experiment to find out whether they can fall in love without seeing each other. And if you'd rather gasp with company than alone, you can join one of the watch parties happening and raise one of those golden goblets. I'm Bazi Kanani. Coming up, Boulder gave hundreds of residents some extra cash every month. The results of this experiment are in.
I think it helps us just look at our neighbors, look at our community members in a little bit of a different way.
Then, why CU is getting fined over the behavior of its football fans. Plus, for decades, some inmates here have trained horses as part of their rehabilitation.
I got kicked, I got stepped on, I got bit. And it's all part of the process. I mean, it takes a certain disposition to train these animals. You got to have a certain mentality.
Now it's coming to an end. And it's apple picking season.
What I learned was that the apples that grow here are something like one of a kind.
You'll hear what makes the apple crops here distinct. It's Wednesday, October 1st. Here's the news in Colorado today. If someone gave you some extra cash every month, no strings attached, would it change your life? The city of Boulder decided to test this out with 200 residents over 2 years.
As a mother, a lot of moms I know and families, they make the decision to live outside of Boulder. They go farther and farther and farther away.
Emily is one of the participants in Boulder's Guaranteed Income Pilot Project, which is now wrapping up. You're hearing her share her story in a video the city released. She's a teacher and single mom who moved to Boulder to live with her father, but since he died, Emily has struggled to make ends meet.
A place that can commit to that, a place that can say that, yeah, we got this and we got you and there's space for all of us was pretty powerful to me. And also that realizing that I have value in the community too, to give and be a good neighbor and to be a good educator and to be a good mother.
Emily and other participants with low incomes got $500 each month to spend however they wanted. So, what happened?
Yeah, so we found that while people in Boulder were receiving this guaranteed income, they had an easier time paying for everyday basic needs like food and housing and utilities.
Sarah Bayless is from the research firm Omni Institute, which released its final report last week. The firm evaluated Boulder's guaranteed income pilot through surveys and interviews with participants.
They also had lower levels of stress and worry and actually felt like they were physically healthier. And this all makes sense since we know that people's experiences of stress and their health are interrelated.
Boulder's pilot is one of dozens of direct cash assistance programs being studied right now in towns and cities across the country. Its results that people in low-income households are mostly healthier, happier, and responsible with the extra money are not surprising, according to Elizabeth Crow, Deputy Director of Housing and Human Services for the City of Boulder.
We don't know when those curveballs are going to come our way. That medical diagnosis, that job loss, those things that can happen to any of us when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Having this kind of benefit through direct cash assistance, even for a short period of time, can make a world of difference.
Crow said Boulder decided to start its own guaranteed income project based on research results from many other places that showed these programs do help. But there are limits. Bayless said researchers found some things the extra cash did not change in participants' lives.
There were not any improvements in areas of people's lives like childcare, health insurance coverage, and healthcare access, and financial asset building. And so zooming out, we're really seeing that there are some needs that are responsive to modest ongoing cash support, while there are others that may require greater investments or broader systemic interventions to really move the needle for folks.
Just as $500 a month goes only so far for families, the money for a project like this is also limited. Boulder funded its pilot with $3 million, in part from one-time federal COVID relief funds.
Unfortunately, the pilot is ending at a time when in Boulder, as well as cities across the country, we're facing some budget challenges.
Crow hopes Boulder's Guaranteed Income Project can continue with more help from the private sector. And she hopes the lessons learned will impact future policy discussions.
It challenges us in a really positive way to think about the kinds of stereotypes and maybe some myths that we carry about who we think deserves to be supported. How much can we trust community members with low income to, quote, do the right thing when they have resources? And what kind of dignity can be experienced by people with this kind of a program when so many restricted and conditional, very, very short-term financial assistance programs really aren't set up that way?
You can read more on Boulder's Guaranteed Income Pilot at the link in the show notes. You may remember that the city of Denver recently helped fund a Guaranteed Income Pilot. That project was focused only on those experiencing homelessness. Denver discontinued its funding for the project in this year's constrained budget. Staying in Boulder for a moment, CU is being fined, and football coach Deion Sanders apologized to Brigham Young University yesterday.
On behalf of CU, on behalf of our athletic department, we would like to apologize to our opponents from a week ago for whatever derogatory statements were made by our fans.
BYU closed out a close win over CU on the Buffs' home field, and as the game ended, CU fans chanted expletives and religious slurs directed at Mormons. BYU is the flagship school for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
That's not indicative of who we are. Our student body, our kids are phenomenal, so don't indict us just based on a group of young kids that probably was intoxicated and high simultaneously. Maybe I shouldn't have said that as well. But the truth will make you free. But BYU, we love you, we appreciate you, and we support you. God bless.
Sports Illustrated notes it's not the first time in recent years that fans of an opposing school have chanted hateful things toward BYU. But unlike those other instances, this time the athletic conference, the Big 12, took action. It announced the fine yesterday shortly after Sanders spoke. It's $50,000. For its part, CU condemned the chants this week, saying discriminatory language and hostile conduct have no place at our athletic events or anywhere on our campus. The sharp rebuke of the students' anti-Mormon chants came 2 days after a shooting and arson attack at an LDS church in Michigan killed at least 4 people. 100 wild horses will soon be looking for new homes in Colorado.
They're not lawn art. They're here to be worked. They need to be rode.
These horses have been trained and tamed by people serving time at the Canyon City Correctional Complex. Cody West has run the Wild Horse Inmate program there, which has helped both the trainers and the animals.
This isn't the old time, ear them down, buck them out, ride them through it. We try to get to the horses through their mind.
But after nearly 40 years, it was just announced that the program is ending. CPR's Andrea Dukakis has spent time with trainers at Canyon City. Andrea, can you tell us more about the inmate horse training program?
Well, I'll start by saying that I don't always take relatives to interviews, but I did take my mother-in-law to the training facility all the way back in 2011. She's a big horse person, and she was wowed by the whole thing. But I was struck by how much this meant to incarcerated people who were doing the training at Canyon City.
I got kicked, I got stepped on, I got bit, and it's all part of the process. I mean, it takes a certain disposition to train these animals. You got to have a certain mentality.
Nick Hendricks was one of the 30 inmates who participated and who I talked to. Over about 3 months, he'd helped transform a wild Mustang into a saddle-trained horse.
You get real dry mouth, you get real nervous, and after a while, you just get so hyped up doing it that you look forward to riding them.
As far as I could tell, it was a real win-win situation. Inmates got to learn all these life skills about how to handle scared, vulnerable creatures. And I saw how the inmates changed as they grew with the animals. And the state, in turn, got help managing its wild horse and burro population. Wildlife managers say there are way more wild horses in the West than they feel is responsible.
If there are all these benefits, why then is the program ending?
Well, there are a couple of factors.
It's just like everything else. Costs have gone up. Cost of hay has gone up.
George Braunice is the president of Friends of the Mustangs. It's a group that helped inmates at Canyon City with training.
Meanwhile, on the BLM side, they're looking at, I believe, the 25% cut in the program remained after all was said and done with the big bill.
This training program, known by its acronym WHIP, was actually funded by the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. And while overall funding for the BLM didn't change much after President Trump's latest tax and spending bill, money for the agency's efforts to control wild horses and burros got slashed.
So the BLM is facing challenges across the board on how are they going to be able to maintain the wild horse and burro program, not just Canyon City, but, throughout the Western region where there are other holding and training facilities.
The BLM's wild horse and burro facility at the Colorado Department of Corrections Canyon City took horses from all over the Mountain West. It could house up to 3,000 animals at a time.
But right now the funding isn't there to gather them up, and there's no place to put them. That's going to be a big challenge for 2026.
What happens now to the 100 horses that were already being trained as part of the program?
They'll go up for adoption and have to find new homes in Colorado. Braunice said thousands of other horses, ones that were being housed at the large facility, will need to be transferred to other places in Wyoming or Utah.
Andrea, you touched on what this program has meant to people who are incarcerated in Colorado. What will be lost with WHIP?
Well, Cody West, the former supervisor we heard from earlier, said this particular program offered inmates something really special.
They're not here for having a lot of patience, so training horses, it's all about having patience. Other people that work at the prisons have this notion that the guys that work at the horse program are out here having fun all day. Well, yeah, it's a fun job, but it's still a job.
The 30 inmates who participated in WHIP at the Canyon City facility will be moved to other vocational programs.
CPR's Andrea Dukakis. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's autumn, and for many people that means it's time to pick apples, drink cider, and maybe make that all-American classic apple pie. But can we do that here in Colorado? Do we have a lot of apples here?
When we bought this place, there were probably 6 varieties, and we grow 32 varieties now.
Steve Ela is a fourth-generation fruit farmer on the western slope in Hotchkiss. He and at least 30 other apple orchard owners in the state will tell you it's actually a great place to grow the crop, even though it produces a fraction of what Washington or New York do. And you won't find many farms where you can pick your own. Jude Schunmeyer and his wife Addie are trying to boost the state's apple crops. They run the Montezuma Orchard Restoration Project in the Four Corners area.
In the 1800s and in Colorado through the early 1900s, orchards were really diverse with cultivars. You'd have maybe 20, 30, 40, sometimes 100 different varieties of apples in a single orchard.
The couple works to find the remnants of Colorado's early fruit diversity that remain hidden across both rural and urban landscapes along the Front Range and Western Slope. They have rediscovered apples you've likely never tried and brought them back to life.
It has just been this little gold mine that's been sitting there.
Varieties like the Keepsake, Northern Spy, Pitmaston Pineapple, and others you won't find in grocery stores.
The buyer that used to be for Kroger in Denver is now somebody in Cincinnati or somebody in New York or doesn't know about, and they're not going for that unique. They're going for fruit with marketing campaigns.
But you can find them at farmers markets along the Front Range because Ela, the farmer in Hotchkiss, now brings them to sell. Meanwhile, other more well-known apples might be hiding in your own backyard. Groups like Grow Local Colorado are gathering across Metro Denver right now to collect apples from people's homegrown trees in an annual act of gleaning.
We want to return this planet to a healthier situation than what we found it.
The group is working to reduce waste and bolster community food banks.
We think everyone should have access to healthy, delicious food.
Last year, they collected 11,000 pounds of fruit. Grow Local Colorado says they can always use more volunteers and more trees. So if you have an abundance of apples on your property, check out the link in our show notes. Reporting for today's show also came from Kristen Richard, the Associated Press, and Denverite's Kevin Beatty. Be sure to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app. And if you hear something you like, share it. I'm Bazi Kanani. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where teachers can save 5% every day. Download the Safeway app and verify your teacher status for exclusive offers and discounts. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.